Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Jiu-Jitsu Couples Therapy. We're back in the saddle after a couple-week hiatus. In this episode, we are going to talk a little bit about the ongoing drama with Atos, sexual misconduct, and the like. So if that's a trigger warning for you, you might not want to listen to this episode. But before we do, in this podcast, we discuss training together as a couple, being a martial arts family, life as an older jiu-jitsu athlete, keeping the proper mindset, and so much more.
What we don't talk about typically jiu-jitsu drama going on. Of course, today is going to be a little bit different because we are going to talk about the situation that's happening in BJJ in general. But we don't really dissect matches. We don't, look down the rabbit hole of move sets or anything like that, but we reserve the right to talk about it if we want to. I will also mention one thing that everything that we talk about in this podcast comes from all of the gyms that we have trained at, which are many, and it is collectively things that we see happening across all gyms.
Most of my topics come from BJJ Reddit sub.
So what other people are talking about as well?
This one today. This is serious, guys, and I don't know of any other way to put it. So this is probably a month out maybe from the first inklings of, hey, there's something big going on at a big school.
Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to the podcast Fighting Matters, which I do, they had kind of talked a little bit about it a couple weeks ago. And then kind of the bombshell dropped with Alexa Hurst coming out, accusing Andre Galval of some pretty gross things. We have friends that train at Atos. We ourselves have trained at Atos and have been welcomed with open arms. The gym that we had trained at, it de-affiliated like the next day or in the following days. But we have a real problem here. And this isn't just a one-off. This isn't just, today's culture. This is a systemic thing that's been happening in jiu-jitsu forever. This goes back to Helio and Carlos. Three of Helio's 9 kids, the mother was the nanny. Carlos fathered 21 kids by 7 different women, some of whom were underage. Okay, so it starts there. And it hasn't gotten much better. And largely in the jiu-jitsu community, people have just been silent about it again.
And the thing is that this has been, it goes on everywhere, right? It goes on everywhere. And
what do you mean it goes?
Meaning this is not isolated to jiu-jitsu. This happens with seemingly anybody that's in power. We had the whole Me Too movement. I'm not going to digress and go down that rabbit hole, but what I'm saying is that it's actually kind of shocking to me that so long after the whole Me Too movement comes along, that this finally comes out, because like you said, it's been happening forever. Why did it take so long for the jiu-jitsu community to get here and get to this point? And I think that it really is, sadly, one of the things that makes martial arts great is also one of the things that makes it really problematic, is this power and respect structure.
Sure. Well, I think first off, this is a jiu-jitsu podcast, so we're talking specifically about the jiu-jitsu space. Is that why is it rampant in jiu-jitsu? Well, I think that there's a lot of bro culture, right? There's a lot of men out there who don't believe that women and men should train together. There's a lot of men who go into jiu-jitsu, who go into MMA, who are very angry at women, who aren't emotionally regulated to be around other women. I mean, we talked about it in another episode, the episode We Make People Uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And I kind of said this in a joking way, but there's some seriousness to that too, is that there are a lot of men who think there should only be a women's class and that's where women should be. So let's compartmentalize women. Let's stick them over there.
And if you're a female coach, you should only teach women's classes, because why would you as a woman's coach?
Well, I want to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We have some red flag things that we'll talk
because
about.
That's an important thing to kind of diagnose.
Mhm.
But so that's one thing, is that there is a lot of bro culture and a lot of toxic masculinity around these types of gyms. And we've talked about, other things that have happened at gyms, things that I've read on Reddit, things that I've seen with my own eyes. And so that's one reason, right? The other thing is, and I didn't even think about this, I'm a man, like a lot of these things are hard for me to even understand,
Sure.
as trying to put myself in the shoes of a woman. I remember a friend of mine saying a long, long time ago that when she was alone in an elevator, if a man was waiting and when the doors open, she would get out.
Mhm.
Like, just think about that as a man. Would you ever do that? Another man, would you be like, oh no, I don't want to be trapped in this steel, soundless box? No, you would never. Like men, we're not thinking, and we're not putting ourselves in the shoes of women. But why is it rampant? That's the answer right there.
And here's what's so messed up about it. And I don't want to like start going on tangents or anything, so I'll try to refocus. But the thing that's so messed up about it is, one of the reasons that I love jiu-jitsu so much is because it gives me a sense of security that if I'm alone in an elevator, I am very confident, unless this person is a, jiu-jitsu belt, that if somebody tried to attack me, that I could hold my own with them and diffuse the situation. Or, just defend myself, at least till the elevator's doors open back up again. And so you go into a jiu-jitsu space to have it be a safe space for you to train so that you can be comfortable fending this off. And then
this happens. Or any number of lesser things. I think women put up with a lot of I hate the term microaggressions, but like micro steppings of like, intimidation, micro assaults, micro abuses, or
we are frequently told one thing, and then the thing that we're told isn't true in practice. So you're told you're allowed to say no to anybody. You're, of course, right of refusal. And we've talked about this on the podcast too. Of course you have the right to say no. If your coach says, hey, you go train with this person and the class is full, are we going to, most of us, I mean, there's some women who, God bless them, I wish that I was you, that doesn't have a problem in front of the whole class saying, no, I'm not going to go with this person, put me with somebody else. Like, we're told that we can say no, but then we're put in the positions to have to say no in front of a whole class. This, it sucks. It sucks. And it is something that, I mean, that's just one example.
I mean, I know that this is upsetting to you. And so, I just think that it's important for us as men, and specifically men in positions of power, to really start to put ourselves in the minds of our students, whether that student be a blind person, or that student be a child who has maybe developmental or ADHD, and not to compare disabilities with being a woman, but so I want to make that clear, because it sounds like I'm saying it as I'm talking out loud.
It's putting yourself in, trying to put yourself into the mind of your students.
Instead of you being a cis man thinking about the things that women have to consider in their daily lives, and so I think that's a reason why it's allowed to happen, because men don't think about it, and if something is said or hinted at, men don't consider it because they would never consider it in their own lives. Oh, well, Joey said da 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 to me, ha ha ha, he's gay. Like it would just laugh it off because there's nothing, there's no threat there as a man. The other thing that in line with that is I've seen a ton of very high level, and then their minions and the army of jiu-jitsu bros saying, oh, well, these are just accusations. Mm-hmm. Where's the proof? You have to convince me, like I'm an important judge and jury in this situation, that Galval, Gordon Ryan, J-Rod, Lloyd Irving, a Cyborg, can we keep going? That these people actually did something wrong. Where's the proof, lady? Who's what? She's a teenager still? Where's the proof? He's one of the most powerful people in the sport.
Where's the proof that he licked your ear?
Yeah.
Did anyone else see it?
Well, if there's videotape rolling at that gym, guaranteed that he's got the lead. Or it's, it's on the dark web, but, and so there's that. Okay. Yes. Like, false accusations happen for sure. For sure they do. And I'm not saying believe all women, definitely not, or believe all accusers, definitely not. But let's just listen, right? Because the barrier to accuse someone of this, in this case, this young lady, the barrier for her, the damage for her, much, much greater. She's taking the risk there. She has to leave her team. She'd been there since a teenager. All this stuff. She had nothing to gain from that, right? She's, trying to get cash from Andre or anything like that.
And the thing is that when this came out, it wasn't like radio silence from everybody else. Like, oh my God, we've never witnessed anything wrongdoing at all. Like this is out of left field. Like way back when, Aziz Ansari got accused of some wrongdoing, and everybody's like, no, that's something different.
Like just comedian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, that I know. It's going.
Oh yeah, because he went on like a Tinder date or something.
Yeah, it was a bad date. And so, there are times where, okay, this is out of left field. There is one person we should absolutely listen. We should absolutely do some due diligence there to listen. But that's not what happened. What happened was, as soon as there was murmuring, there were so many people again on the women's subreddit that were like, no, this is real. Nope, this is real. This is real. Like so many different women, which was also disturbing.
I was amazed. I was amazed because I went on it and was like, oh no, and then this happened to me at this other gym. And then, oh, well, I quit jiu-jitsu for 5 years because this happened to me at this gym. And,
right.
And, they run the gamut of just creepiness to, a physical domination, mm-hmm. Laying on someone and licking their ear. There's nothing in the world. Andre Galval could do that to me right now. He can walk in that door, lay on me and lick my ear. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. His jiu-jitsu, his technique is that good, right? And so imagine you're a young lady. I don't know how much she weighs. It doesn't really matter to me, or how big she is. That's, I do want to kind of talk. I've been a little bit irritated for this podcast, and so I want to kind of add some lightness to it, or some hope to this situation. I just got finished saying most gyms, most high-profile people are not saying shit about this. I think Stephen Kesting and Steve Kwan are probably the two most high-profile people that are actually talking about this. But Keenan Cornelius had a great video too, and I'll see if I can. There's a couple of videos that I want to see if I can remix here and put them into this clip.
He's put out some really good ones. Keenan Cornelius.
I mean, the poor guy. Poor guy. I mean, he was a Lloyd Irvin student. Him and JT Torres trained with Lloyd Irvin when they were like purple belts, and that whole fucking thing went down with Lloyd Irvin. So they left that and went right to Atos. Yeah. But I do want to say that I am heartened in some sense by the mass exodus of gyms from Atos. Atos as an empire is dead. So that is heartening. I will say that I find it extremely difficult to believe that none of the people, you hear all the instructors at HQ going, I had no idea, like, okay, maybe, I find that a little more difficult to believe, but I'm not them. And, I understand that HQ is a huge, huge gym. It's like going to, my high school. My high school graduating class was like 3,000 kids. Did I know most of them? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
So that could be possible. It could be possible. But I think if you've been around a place long enough, you probably hear something. And that's another thing that a lot of guys say, when stuff like this comes out. Oh, well, he was always really nice to me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
of course
then
nice to you.
This, of course, if he's nice to you, then he who cares what he did to anybody else?
Yeah.
But the last piece, and I know that you wanted to talk about this. I have this in my notes. Something that I heard this past week that really stunned me, and something I never thought of. It was specifically, they were talking about Angelica Galvao telling Alexa, shut up, essentially. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, or whatever she said.
That's what she said.
That women protect the patriarchy when the patriarchy serves them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it is being, right now that's being shown to be absolutely true at every level, and it's really, really upsetting and disturbing. If anything, women should be protecting other women. Women should be sticking together. It's really awful to go to somebody who has treated you like a daughter and who you see like a mother and say, this is going on. And she says, be quiet, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
It's grooming Epstein class
exactly
stuff.
That's a Ghislaine Maxwell. Like, it's so awful. And so one of the things that I would like to start moving on to, I think everybody knows our feelings about all of this going on. Is what can we do? One of the obvious answers is more women empowered. Let's get more women, either owning gyms outright or, co-owning gyms with men, or, at least more women teaching co-ed classes or whatever. But that's obviously not.
It's not a silver bullet.
It's not a silver bullet, because there are, these women out there that are not only not protecting other women, but are
actively participating,
putting people into harm's way. I still think that it's a good idea to have more women, because by and large, I don't think that women are like that. They're just particular situations. But maybe women that are decoupled from the male head coach, meaning they're not married to them, they're not like related to them or something.
I've thought about that, as we ran a gym as a married couple, and we were pretty sensitive to that. I've, not to pat myself on the back, but I feel like, part of the reason why we do this podcast is because I feel like part of my journey in jiu-jitsu has been understanding you / what women go through in this space.
Right.
And I'm very sensitive to that. Not as sensitive as I can be, though. I've had my failings. We've had our own therapy here on this podcast where I've realized that I've fucked up, that I've let my wife down or other training partners because I didn't think, right? And so that was what I said kind of at the beginning of the podcast. Like, you need to put yourself, if as a coach, as an elder at the gym, as an upper belt, you need to put yourself, who's the least among us? We'll just say that. What did Christ say? Love the least among us. How you treat them is how you treat, is who you are as a person. And
But we did, we did co-teaching. I taught a lot of classes on my own, most of which were mostly men. And there are, some situations that I came up with in that realm as well.
I don't think this triangle works, coach.
But oh yeah, that was a good one. But no, just even questioning, I would go over and correct a technique, and then that person would call Joshua over, like, hey, so what about this? And he was like, no, that he would make the same correction that I did, and then thankfully, mostly it was understood, like, oh, I just acted like an asshole. Sorry, coach, I didn't mean to second guess you.
Yeah, I think in the instances we're talking about, it was pretty innocent.
Sure.
But this is what I'm saying, is that men default to this because they don't have to think about it. Like, they don't have to consider those kinds of dynamics because they're a man, and that's just the way that it is. And I won't say that if something like that happens at your gym and you're a woman instructor, that's a huge red flag for you. You better run. But I'm saying that, how do the other men in power support you in that?
Yeah.
Like, do they go, oh, you know what? I think that maybe even if you were 100% wrong, I would have agreed with you.
Yeah.
And then I would have pulled you aside and said, hey, I think this.
Yeah.
And then, we'd kind of subtly go back to that person and then kind of make adjustments. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Or well, this is another way that we can think about it, or something like that.
Yeah. But so, in speaking of solutions, the first one that you said, women in positions of power, maybe. I think that I read this great Instagram post from a female black belt, older. I'm not quite sure how old she is, but I know that she's at least kind of in the spectrum of where we are. And she said she stopped teaching women's classes. And I was like, what do you mean? And then I read the post and she was like, look, women need to be, why are women relegated to teaching women's only classes?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't women teach the regular class?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, why can't they? And, she had a supportive coach. They put her in charge of, a co-ed class, and, and that's what she taught instead.
And now she has her own gym where she's the head coach.
Yeah. And that's where I see, when I think what we mean with women in power. Are they treated as co-equals, right, and allowed to teach the co-ed class, the competition class, or are they just relegated to teaching the kids class? Because you see that a lot too.
Yeah.
The women instructors just do the kids. They have the littles class.
Yeah, the kids class or the women's only classes. But so that would be a positive move forward. I do think we both kind of came to it independently, and maybe somebody else suggested it in the Jiu-Jitsu subreddit realm, but having some kind of a governing body that schools can register with. And in order to get the designation that you are that type of school, you have to go through extensive background checks and have an anonymous tip line that goes right to them for your gym, that things get investigated, so that, you know, when it comes up time for registration, or if a number of calls are coming in or something like that,
Yeah, I mean,
that it can be paid attention to.
I might be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure, and I think it's Judo USA or Association, something like that, USAA, that they do something like that. And I think that not Taekwondo, is it Hapkido USA or something like that? They do something similar, where if you're a registered school, you've gone through mandatory, like sensitivity training, maybe is the right word for it. So being able to notice when things are off. You go through your own, as a coach, your own program of actually how to be a better listener, how to take suggestions, comments, you know, how to understand and hear your students better. Background checks for sure, you know, safety checks at the school, stuff like that. This is a problem. This is what I say when I say we have a problem. It's because of this, because we don't have this.
Yeah.
And
who's there to protect you?
Well, when the IBJJF celebrates Cyborg, happy birthday, 5-time champion Cyborg Abreu, like, holy shit, this guy, like, you know, this guy has done some pretty horrific things.
Yeah.
We're celebrating him now?
Yeah.
Okay, happy birthday, King Ryan, sliding into a 15-year-old's DMs. Okay, all right, that's what we're doing now, huh? And, you know, so there's a school for me of people who are dissatisfied with the way that the IBJJF leads the sport, as far as like those types of cultural, systemic social issues. Then there's the other crowd who's like, the IBJJF rule set's stupid, which we can debate that. I think that there's some benefit to the rule set. I think by and large, the rule set is based on safety rather than your cool submission. Sorry. But there are some things that I do disagree with, you know, like you go for a submission, say you fall back for a triangle, the person gets out, that's a sweep. That's 2 points for them. I don't think that that's legit, and does force more stalling matches. I agree with that. But we don't have any semblance of any kind of legit governing organization that we can all agree on. And it doesn't seem like we really have the will to have something like that either.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, show of hands, your school that you go to, has your instructor been talking about this? Here's what we do at this school to prevent these types of things. Here's who you talk to if something like this happens.
Yeah.
You know, like we've talked about reasons that people should get kicked out of gyms for fighting, or for, you know, continually smelling like weed, or just bad hygiene and stuff like that.
Maybe not kicked out, but at least talked to.
Okay. I'm talking about perpetual line steppers.
Sure.
You know, in Chappelle's words. You know, Rick James, perpetual line stepper. But, you know, there has to be some way, you know, to say an anonymous tip line, some way to kind of adjudicate some of these things so that students feel okay with, you know, coming forward, you know, because there's been things that I haven't liked at a lot of different schools. And as you know, if you know me, if you listen to this podcast, I have no problem saying it. And I judge the responsiveness of that thing, you know, but I'm a man. I'm a white cis man. I have no problem speaking my mind, and some people like it, some people don't. Okay, I can live with that. Okay, now imagine you're a woman, or maybe a minority. Why is everybody, I'm one of the few minorities here, everybody seems to pick on me. That's weird. You know, who do I talk to? I'm just going to keep my mouth shut, just going to keep showing up, whatever. That there needs to be a way that people can come forward. But to be kind of pessimistic about this, I don't see the appetite. I think that jiu-jitsu has let associations become the default governing body for that little fiefdom,
which
is
yikes.
super problematic.
Yikes.
All the men at the top of these are either bullies, assholes, predators. There's some gyms where that specific gym is a good gym because of the men and women there.
For sure.
There's some Atos gyms that were amazing gyms because of the men and women there. Every association has amazing gyms and amazing people.
Which is why it's so much more sad.
But you can't judge the whole swath. And that's what IBJJF has kind of defaulted to. It's incentivized big teams over independent teams.
Yeah.
And then he's just let them govern themselves. Like whatever this, the head of this school says, all the people got to do,
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't see the appetite for any sort of legit governance. And so that's why, just not to cut you off, I'll just finish with this, is that when you came to Wolfpack, I said, I have a background check. I will show it to you. My wife has a background check. I will show it to you. We have, such and such, these 3 kids, young preteens, teenagers teaching these classes. Here they are. Come and talk to them. Any questions for me? Anything deeper? Please stay and watch class.
Yeah.
Please stay and be a part of this.
See how we do.
I am 100% transparent. And if there's something that you don't like and you come to me, I take criticism very well. And that's part of that power dynamic that we spoke about earlier. How many times did I end class with look, if there's, maybe class didn't go quite right. Guys, I take criticism very well. There's something that you don't like, something that we're not doing, I'm responsive to that. I'll give you my justifications for it because I know a little bit more than you, but I'm not a know-it-all, And those are the things that schools can do on their own, but each one will kind of roll it out differently. It won't be uniform. Maybe some people, we don't need background checks for kids coaches. Okay, if that's the way you want to do it, okay.
The thing is, and I'm not sure we'll work through some red flags on another podcast or something, but in that kind of realm and in the realm of what you're talking about, anybody can be a head coach.
There's zero training.
There's zero training. Anybody can open up a school. Really, the gamut of belts. Anybody can open up a school.
If you have a blue belt, you can probably open up.
You can open up a school. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to come there, but you can open up a school. And so, just because somebody has successfully opened the doors of a school doesn't mean that they are above board. It doesn't mean they're a good person. It doesn't mean that they're going to take care of you. It doesn't mean that they're invested in you. It means that they've opened a jiu-jitsu school, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really important thing to circle back on this power dynamic. You as a hobbyist athlete, or even maybe you think you're a serious competitive athlete, maybe you are, but that power dynamic doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That doesn't exist in real life. They're not your boss.
Yeah.
They're teaching you a sport. And I would say it's a sport of luxury. You're there because you can afford to be there with your time and with your money, with your effort, and your body works mostly.
Yeah.
And so to think about it in that way, and I think that we can, I would say one more thing that you can do in lieu of, the pigs fly thing, that we get a governing board that actually works. Because even the guys who are in position of power, who are being very responsive and very rightfully so, calling out very fiercely these things that have happened. I haven't heard a single one of them say, what we need is a governing body that actually works for us,
Yeah.
that actually makes the sport better, safer, more inclusive, rather than something that celebrates men who, just because their jujitsu is legit, they can get away with whatever
Yeah.
they want.
Just because you have good jujitsu doesn't make you a good person.
Uh,
And I think that in light of the fact that it's probably not going to happen anytime soon, it's on us. So I just hit my mic. I don't know if that just made noise, but it's on us as people going in to be students at a gym to do our due diligence. If you are a parent and you're bringing your kids to a kids class, observe what's going on. Are there other like big kids helping to teach the class, helping coach, which I think is a positive sign? Or, what does it look like? How do the coaches talk to the kids? How do they handle the kids? What kind of things are they teaching the kids? And that kind of thing. Protect your kids, watch class.
I would say that with any sport, though.
For sure. This isn't, this is not
our kids
just
play soccer. When it's practice, I'm there sitting on the sideline,
For sure.
baking in the sun, going, man, I don't want to be here.
For sure. This is for anything. I mean, you got to protect your kids. Who's coaching your kids? You have to take responsibility. But then you also have to take responsibility for yourself. How do you feel when you go into a gym? How does your body feel? Do you feel safe? Do you feel like you can train with just about anybody on the mat? Do you feel like your coach is helping you and being protective of you? Or do you feel like, your coach is kind of like ignoring you? You have to keep your eyes and ears open. And if it doesn't feel right, you need to respond to that and you need to respect it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so in closing, what are solutions? Another thing that I've seen floated, and this seems to me to be probably the one that has the most legs as far as a solution, but I don't know if it's accurate, and it sure could be hackable, is that there's a database because there is a database full of gyms across the country and perhaps Canada of which gyms are LGBTQ plus friendly.
Right. The triangle, what is it called? I was just looking at it the other day.
And so maybe that we can extrapolate out and do something similar for just gyms. Like we don't even have to make this a male versus female issue. There's gyms that I've trained at where if someone asks me, hey, I was thinking about going to XYZ gym.
No.
There's another gym on the other side of town. You go over there. For any number of reasons.
Right.
It's dirty, creepy. It's, just not legit. Oh, any number of reasons.
Any number of things. But who, the question is who, because I thought of that too, but who maintains that database? Who can you just say, hey, speaking about the LGBTQ group, well, I'm kicking myself right now that I'm not remembering. I will put it in the comments. But like, how do you get on that list? Was it, and I was trying to look into this, is it just a matter of saying, hey, we're friendly here. We don't, but does the school really have to be friendly? Can they just say it and then, so how is that maintained?
How do you investigate
it?
Yeah. I would have to say it would have to be crowdsourced, that a gym could, either a student or a coach or an owner could initiate the process. Okay, you're on, temporary status, or you've got your permit status or whatever. We need verification by X amount of people, and then, maybe some pictures of the gym, whatever, a statement, something like that. A link to your background checks, stuff like that. It's not really that hard, but you would have to trust the crowd in that.
Right.
But I think that generally the crowd gets it right eventually, and probably a little bit quicker than individual, like an all-seeing body.
I would agree with that, but I also think that there has to be anonymity to it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, for sure, for the people who are raiding the gym or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And who
yeah.
are
Wh-
scared of, retaliation of some kind, if you have something not so great to say about a gym, or if you have a concern about somebody there's sexual
Yeah.
harassment, or
Well,
any number of things.
right. And it could get into like, flame wars where like I'm unhappy with this gym because of some ridiculous thing,
Right. Oh, right.
and it just things get blown out of
I had an
proportion.
argument with somebody there, and now, I'm
You
going to
know,
complain. It's yeah.
I mean, I was talking with a buddy of mine who lives back west, and he was telling me like he had switched gyms, and the other gym just kept charging him every month, just kept charging, and he'd be like, "Yo, this," and then it would take them weeks to reverse the charges,
Oh my gosh.
and it just went on for 4 or 5 plus months. So bad that he ended up switching banks to get away from these
Oh my
people.
god, it's like that Friends episode.
The gym episode. And
I'm gonna quit the gym. What
I'll
happened?
just
We got
it's
joint bank accounts. Right, let's switch banks.
Oh, but let's just to wrap up here, let's run through a couple red/yellow flags. Maybe we'll say one and rate one, and the other person will rate one as a red or yellow flag for this type of thing. We're not talking about the gamut of red, yellow flags for gyms because guess what? Every gym, including the gym that we ran, had red flags, right?
Yeah,
I will
every
be.
gym is gonna have a red
What was
flag
our red
somewhere.
flag? I know what it was. It was that we made everyone buy and wear our uniform. And for some people, that is a cult red flag. And I would say, yes, you're probably right. We did our best to so this is me throwing myself under the bus first before I give you my red flags, but we did our damnedest to make sure that our uniforms were super high quality, super well fitting, and
That were
everyone was
gis that people
very,
wanted to wear.
very, very comfortable, and people wanted to wear them. We didn't give them like you go to Gracie Ball, basically you get a potato sack. You know, I, you know,
Yeah, I mean, we had mix and match sizes. You could get different bottoms and different tops, and like try on a bunch of like different mix and match
yeah.
until you found just the
Yeah,
right
well,
fit.
we
So
had
there is that.
well-tailored Ds,
Yeah.
and I'll say that it's a lot of work, but this is the intentionality of building a gym is like you have to do all those little things.
Right.
But I'll say okay, I'll go first. My first flag, and you can put the color on it, is that coaches who urge you to do something you don't feel comfortable doing, say whether that be competing, that's a big
Mhm.
one in the BJJ women's subreddit
Yeah.
competing, training with certain people, fealty maybe to the gym's traditions.
Yeah.
So that would be my first kind of flag for uh, uh, maybe there's a power dynamic that's unhealthy here.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Um, yeah, I would say that that's like an orange flag. It can be just somebody, trying to push you to expand and do something maybe that be comfortable being uncomfortable and that whole kind of thing. But it's definitely something to be on alert. If you see that happening, look for other signs that there's a
Yeah.
potential problem. Um,
What do you got?
Mine is going back to that bro gym thing. If you see a lot of people, when you're training or whatever, like disparaging other people and just like calling people names and everything, even if they've been friends for like, you know, 10 years or something. Well, that's just how we act. Well, but if it's making me feel uncomfortable, like, how do I know that that's not the whole culture at the gym? Um, and again, it's that if you're gonna be that way to each other, do I have a place here?
Right.
Again, I don't know if that's a red flag, but it's
Well,
definitely
to
it's a
me,
flag for me.
I would say that that's a red flag because it makes me feel uncomfortable, and I like to talk shit. You know, I'm at home. What did Teddy Atlas say? Like, we're firemen. We live in the fire. We want to be in the fire. I love being in the fire, but not at a gym. Not at a gym where children train at,
Yeah.
where people of other creeds, religions, ethical and moral standards, I don't think that that is appropriate.
Yeah.
To me, as a coach, when I would hear someone say something on the mats that I didn't like, I would snap too. Hey, we don't talk that way in this gym.
Yeah.
We don't talk that way.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, we've said it so many times. Why? Because this is a gym where we're practicing the art of strangling each other and breaking each other's arms and legs. We have to be able to explicitly and implicitly trust everyone. And if I hear you just completely, mocking someone or whatever continually, right? Everyone has like something happens at the gym, and
You have like an inside joke, and
for the whole class, like people are like, oh yeah,
right. It's
yes.
different. It feels different.
But when it's continual and ongoing, and that to me is a red flag for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one is okay. Coach can't be questioned, doesn't take feedback, or doesn't listen to your complaints or concerns.
Yeah.
So this is the anonymous tip line. Some people are just too afraid. There should be like a little box,
a suggestion box
at the front desk.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you can, maybe it's just a QR code and it takes you to a Google form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have handwriting or something like that.
Right. You don't have to sign in for it or whatever. You just, what happened? A quick drop down menu, a little text box, submit.
Yeah. I mean, even teaching, I teach a big university class, well over 100 students. And I want my biggest thing is that I teach a really hard subject. I want students to feel like they can tell me like, hey, this would make my experience better. This would make me learn better. And so I do periodic anonymous surveys throughout the semester where I ask them pointed questions of things that I want feedback on specifically. And then I leave it open. Tell me what you want me to know. Yeah. Give me any feedback. It's anonymous. I have no idea who you are. So just tell me. And I've gotten some of my best feedback that way.
Well, and here again, like coaches and gym owners have to be secure enough in their own person to be able to take those things and go, I wonder if this is, if this really is a thing, or is this person just irritated? Like, no, I'm confident enough that I'm doing it right and I will address it with this person, or, hey, that's a really good suggestion.
And there's I always follow up because there will be trends, or there will be, some people saying some things, and then I'll address it. I'll say, okay, so here's some things you guys have told me. Here's one thing that, okay, I understand where you guys are coming from, but I'm not going to change it. And here's why. Here's my reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, just the other day, too much homework. Guess what I did? I lightened up the homework. I'm like, I don't want you guys spending all your time doing that.
Yeah.
Like you do have to feel comfortable. Like, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
Yes.
So red, yellow, orange, green, blue.
That's a orange to red flag. And the reason why I wouldn't put automatic red flag is because it's so prevalent. It's so prevalent.
Yeah. So, all right.
Okay.
You go.
If you train 4 days a week, in those 4 days a week, there's only 2 people ever at class that you feel comfortable rolling with. Either because they're all vastly, wildly different ages than you, 20 years younger in my case. This is specifically for older grapplers, I think, for a red flag. Or just, crazy, or you're just not comfortable. You're worried that you're going to get hurt. And so, if you can't prevent your own injury, then don't roll.
Yeah, I would, if we're talking about strictly, a gym that could be harmful to you in either like a emotionally, physically, sexually sense, I would say that that's probably a very pale yellow flag to me.
Yeah, it probably doesn't belong in this in this bucket. I guess
Um,
unless one of the reasons you don't want to roll with people is because you feel that they're treating
Sure. Okay. So if we preface it by that, not I feel like I'm going to be getting hurt or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like these people make me feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and I don't feel comfortable rolling with them.
Yeah.
Then yes, then I would say that yes, that is definitely a darker orange flag to me to red. Okay, I have we kind of touched on it earlier. Few to zero women in positions of power, and I want to preface that power by being equal power,
Right.
co-equal power with the male instructors. Um, but we've kind of gone over that at length.
Yeah.
I'll just let you pick a color for that flag.
Yeah, I don't think that that's a red flag because that's just not always possible. So I would say that also a pale yellow to even into, well, green seems like go, but on the area of the okay, I'm gonna say pale yellow, only because it's not always possible. If there are women there that are only relegated to a women's class or a kids class or something like that that are just that are also black belts, so equal rank, and they're not given any regular classes, that gets a little bit more in the orange to red.
Okay, then I'll frame it that way.
Okay.
Like, yes, if it's a brand new school and all you have are white belts or maybe a handful of blue belts, it's not really possible to promote anybody really into a position of power other than presumably the head coach / coach is. But so yeah, okay, I will take that with a grain of salt. Do you have another one? I've got one more.
I don't know. What's your one more?
Okay, so my last one, and this is specifically, thinking about uh, um, putting yourself as me, cis white male, into the heads of people who might not be as comfortable at a gym. I grew up playing sports. I grew up in locker rooms. And so therefore, I have great insight as to how these things like Atos and Gordon Ryan and J-Rod and all these things. I have great insight into how they happen because Donald Trump, locker room talk. Locker room talk.
That's a good one.
But I would say that if the gym is not and that kind of goes back to what you were saying about people kind of fooling around talking shit, whether it's lighthearted or maybe getting a little mean, uh, uh, that kind of outward locker room talk. And that can run the gamut from, a couple of white belts who've known each other forever and they're just really nervous and they want to kind of fit in and they want to flex like, hey, I belong here. I'm a bro too. And that's where the coach has to go like, yo, we don't talk like that here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't talk like that here. It could be the music that's being played. It could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I will say that if the population of your gym isn't reasonably indicative of where you live, then perhaps there's something else going on there.
Interesting.
It could be as simple as maybe it's just in a part of town that attracts, people from that part of town. It could be the fact that maybe, LGBTQ people aren't welcome there. It could be a lot of things. I wouldn't say that this is I'll give the color myself that this isn't even a yellow flag in a lot of cases. Because, if we talking just about African Americans in the United States, martial arts isn't a typical outlet sports wise for them.
Right.
For other populations, Asians, white folks, even some Latino populations, martial arts definitely is.
Yeah.
And so I can understand how it could skew that way.
Right.
When we had Dr. Moon on a few weeks ago, he's like, hey, I'm Korean. I grew up with Bruce Lee and, all this stuff. Like martial arts is part of the culture. So it could be that, but I do think that that is something that I would keep an eye out for.
Just general diversity.
Yeah, just general diversity. Our people of all kinds of stripes welcome at the gym. I mean, Stephen Kesting had a great thing. I can't remember when he said it. It's probably more than a year ago. But he was like, man, if you want to keep all the fucking fascists and Nazis out of combat sports gyms, hang a gay pride flag.
Yeah. I love that.
And you know what? And I was like, damn, because, at Wolfpack, we had a bunch of flags and I always wanted to hang one.
We talked about it several times and then we never did it.
And we didn't do it.
We were in small town South Dakota.
This very, 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 very conservative.
Yeah.
Very, 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 religious.
I think that's why we never actually pulled the trigger.
Well, because I think that my reasoning was, and this could be because I'm a coward, but my reasoning was like, I'm going to alienate and purposely, or in their eyes, anger people.
Yeah.
For it, like we had other like symbols at the gym, trying to think of what exactly they were. Maybe it was things on the desk,
little ally things, kind of.
Yeah, like ally pins or something at the desk and stuff. So it's like it's no secret we're hanging the California flag on the wall of our gym. You know who we are,
right?
Right. Like we're some, California libertards, like.
I think that I think ultimately it was more diverse without hanging that. And we had a really diverse group. Man, it's something that of all the things that we did with Wolfpack, it's one of the things that I was most proud of.
Well, as the years go by and the distance grows from that gym, now all I see are the positives.
Yeah. Thank God, me too.
Like I don't think we've ever told actually the full story on the podcast. I'm not going to tell it now. But
owning a gym is hard work.
Owning a gym is emotionally draining, and I wouldn't say horrible.
It was horrible for me.
Horrible is not the word I would use. The
business part of it, not the gym part of it. Like it was emotionally.
Well, I think that we can both say, Queen, that you and I are not business people.
No.
we are people.
That is true.
One of us, we were looking at bunches of times, we'd be looking at each other going like, which one of us is the business person again? Because it's not me.
It's like the worst. Yeah. If you want to grow a business, well,
1, 2, 3, not it. Okay.
1, 2, 3, not it.
Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Next week, we will get back on our kind of regular programming of just having fun and being a little lighthearted. But
this is an important topic.
I can't think of another topic right now that's more important in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Not rule set changes, not who's competing at this tournament, not these new features of whatever, these instructionals. It's this, and we've got a serious problem. And if you're someone who's in a position of power, you're a coach, you're an owner, you need to be speaking out about this. You need to be making your gym into a place where this will never happen.
Yeah. That feels safe for everybody. And that is safe for everybody.
And so, I would gladly take suggestions, because I take suggestions quite well. What do you think? What is the path forward here?
Oh yeah. One other thing that I really want to point out in this is that this is a podcast of our opinions and ideas.
That's like your opinion,
it's
man.
Like just your opinion, man. Anybody can have different opinions. And if you have different opinions, we welcome them. Please tell us your different opinions. We're happy to talk about it because guess what? We take feedback.
All right, everybody. Until next time, be well.
See you guys.